Having access to cash to access securities markets without having to sell my gold or silver is convenient for me. Interestingly, because as an example, I'm the largest shareholder of Sprott, a large financial services concern which is built around gold or silver. A financial planner would tell me that I didn't need to own any gold, that my life was already leveraged to gold. But again, owning physical gold makes me sleep better.
Right.
I'm 69 years of age. I like to sleep. And I consider, like you do, gold and silver to be cash, good cash, but it's volatile cash. The problem breaks down with some in your audience, Robert, because if they own gold and there was a liquidity crisis and the price of gold temporarily fell, they would be less inclined to sell the gold and turn that into an asset which they could then use to buy another asset. Many people, although they own gold, don't regard it as liquidity. They don't regard it as cash. And if let's say that their average cost in gold is $1,800 and the price falls to $1,500, the price of another asset that they want to buy fell by half, but they feel this strange compulsion not to accept a small loss in cash to take advantage of a bigger opportunity. So in that sense, psychologically, right, for many people, precious metals aren't cash. I don't suffer that same circumstance. For me, it's good cash, it's volatile cash. I, like you, have had some precious metals for a very long time, and it's lovely to see my savings appreciate as opposed to depreciate.
Right. Yeah. So the other thing too, because we're real estate guys,
I'll get in there.
But
Go ahead.
If we need cash, we borrow money.
Understand that in the wrong set of circumstances, Robert, and I hate to attract your core thesis. If the government decided that they didn't like the use that you were putting your real estate to, you would find that you didn't own it. That rather you had a conditional use permit. I'm not saying that real estate is a bad asset class. I guess I'm saying in the face of government, every asset class is bad. And by the way,
I'm just saying my cash comes from debt.
I mean, the idea the lovely thing in real estate from my point of view, I'm no good at it, but it's treated me well. The idea that my return on capital employed increases with inflation while my cost of capital, which is to say my mortgage, stays fixed.
Right. I love it. I love debt.
A gift from God.
I know.
Just a gift from God.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, so you've touched on a lot of points I wanted to. A lot of points I wanted to make, going back to 2008, and given the circumstances today with Ukraine and Russia and China and Taiwan and QE and inflation, and you saying that you're holding cash. A lot of people we know, and we are holding some cash. And you're talking about 2 to 3 years, there's going to be opportunities. Can you expand upon all of that?
I can't. I don't know where the opportunity will come. I really can't. My crystal ball is cracked and cloudy. I know that we've come off a 40-year period that has been as benign as any 40-year period in human history. And I believe that some of the benefits that we saw over the last 40 years, globalization and free trade, the demographics of the baby boom, technology, but particularly declining real interest rates, are over.
Yep.
And I don't know how that manifests itself. I know that as the world becomes more political, as people begin to believe that the allocation of utility in society should occur by government rather than by delivering utility to the customer, that the world will become more political and hence more hostile. People will come to believe that other people owe them something, irrespective of the utility that they've delivered. And that's not a recipe for peace. I don't know where or how that will manifest itself. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it doesn't manifest itself. But separate and apart from the macro, the simple arithmetic around the fact that the political equation around quantitative easing, debt and deficits, and negative real interest rates is broken. It tells me that I can't rely on other people. I can't rely on the big thinkers. I can't rely on the government. While I don't know how the disruption will manifest itself, and I hope it doesn't until I shed my mortal coil, it isn't the way that I'm prepared to bet. It just isn't the way that I'm prepared to bet. For me, we have geopolitical problems with the Russians. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk. It doesn't mean that we should rely on vilifying the Russians to solidify the political base that some people might have in the United States, or to set up geopolitical blocks in the world that make people hate each other and want to shoot each other. That just feels to me to be pathologically stupid. Robert, you saw that in its rawest form earlier in your life, and there's no part of it that's good. And I'm not suggesting that we're headed towards broader military conflict. I'm only saying that in a world where assets are allocated because a group finds that they can vote themselves benefit to the detriment of another, that the ending is not happy.
No.
You get value in real estate because you deliver value for your tenants. You outcompete the guy who has apartments down the road based on price, based on location, based on amenity. Your customer is free to come to you and free to go. A taxpayer doesn't have the same freedom. You have no enforcement right to make somebody rent your house. But if a taxpayer doesn't pay tax, they come and haul him off to jail. They go to take his property, and if he resists them taking his property, they either incarcerate him or kill him.
Right.
Those are very different value propositions.
It's like what Trudeau's doing and all that.
That was
taking the bank accounts. It's incredible. Which is why I want to go back to up until 1974, it was illegal for Americans to own gold. Could you explain to the people listening and what happened? Why was that?
There's a wonderful economic saying, and I forget whose quote I'll steal. Good money drives bad out of circulation. Roosevelt wanted to greatly expand the role of government in the American economy. He believed, for some reason, that the big thinkers would do a better job of healing the excesses in the economy than individual people. I'll leave that aside. He knew that given the greatly increased level of public expenditure and the inability of the citizenry to pay for it on a current basis, that anybody who could add or subtract would sell US dollars in favor of gold. He couldn't stand the competition. And so very simply, rather than try to convince the citizenry